Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about the flood of 2011. This happened in July of 2011, and for those who are unfamiliar, the remnants of Tropical Storm Lee passed through and ultimately stalled out over the area in July of 2011. And in all, the Susquehanna and the Shenango River overflowed, destroying 229 homes and damaging 9,000 more, according to the local news. It just so happens that I was organizing some files on an old hard drive and happened to come across this album of old photos that my wife and I took. Obviously, we weren't together back then, but we both had a lot of photos from that time, so I took the best ones to share with you guys today and kind of relive a tragic part of the history of Binghamton. Alright guys, so what we're going to do is go through these photos and I'll give some context and description to them. Some of them are great quality and some of them aren't the greatest. This shot is looking at the Aldi's in Vestal at the corner of Main and the Parkway, and Vestal Avenue would be off to the right here as well. This is the Town Square Mall over in Vestal. The Walmart never got water inside. I think the theater did get some water damage to it at this point, but yeah, the parking lot completely flooded and just completely underwater. The next shot here is the Boys and Girls Club. This was very late during the flood. The water was at its highest point in this shot, I believe. This is Ty Cobb Stadium early in the flood. The water did get insanely higher, and I believe you're going to see that in some of the upcoming photos. This is Oak Hill Avenue that goes up the north side of Endicott. The underpass wasn't just flooded, it was like completely underwater all the way up to the top of the bridge there. Very crazy, because usually if it does flood, it's just like the bottom part of it, but this was like the whole underpass. This is the Christmas tree shops over in Vestal, over in Johnson City. This was early on in the flood. The water did get a lot higher than this, unfortunately, and there was a tragedy surrounding the Petco where a lot of the animals were unfortunately left in the building. Gander Mountain's been gone for a number of years now, but it was just completely devastated by the flood, I remember. This is the Walmart in Vestal. You can see there's a bunch of cars underwater here. Again, the water never went in the store, but I do remember seeing pictures of the entryway there being stacked up with like pallets of gardening products to keep, like dirt and stuff, to keep the water out of the store. This is Jenny F. Snap Middle School right in the back. This is like the athletic fields would be. A lot of water back there, nothing too crazy though. This is the Kmart Plaza. The water did go into the Kmart store and do a lot of damage to it. Somewhere I have a photo of the interior of the store, but it's pretty much what you would imagine, just completely emptied out and all the drywall cut away where there was some. This is the flood wall over to the right of the Green Bridge on Vestal Avenue. And again, I'm sorry, these photos aren't really in order, but it's, the best I can do. This is the water cascading over that flood wall. And there are apartments just out of frame in this shot that also the first floor of those apartments got just kind of wiped out. This is the Green Bridge on Vestal Avenue going from Endicott to Vestal, for those who aren't familiar or don't remember. The water never went over this bridge, but it did get up to the I-beams underneath, and a lot of big objects, I remember, were hitting that bridge. I think a large propane tank hit it, and the noise, it didn't like explode or anything, but the noise it made was heard like all around that area. It was super loud, is one thing I personally remember from that day. This next shot here, I'm not sure where this is exactly, but it's part of the highway system in the area. This actually, oh, you know what? This looks like it might be approaching Appalachian on 17, which is now technically Interstate 86, I guess. But the water went right over the highway there in multiple places. It was just an incredible amount of water. This is over in West Endicott. This is the flood wall that protects West Endicott. It looks like there was some seepage either under or over the wall here in this shot, but never in my life have I seen it that high. That's just crazy. So this is another shot of Ty Cobb Stadium. It's later in the stage of the flood, and you can just see that the guest grandstands over there are completely underwater. Just the top set of guardrails sticking right out of the top there. Another shot of the Boys and Girls Club. Again, the water, I don't believe the water made it in the building, but I know the pool complex itself did suffer some damage from the flood. Like, I think the water got into the pumping system or something like that back then. Here's the Fran Angeline Fieldhouse, which in modern day has been completely rebuilt and is now up on stilts where, like, if you're looking at the building now, the top of the building would be well out of the water line. This old building was completely demolished and removed. It was a lost cause. So now we're looking at an aerial shot of Johnson City. And again, these aerial shots, they were in my wife's folder. I don't think she took these from a plane or anything, but she might have gotten them somewhere. I have no idea. But this is the old GE plant in Johnson City. And you can see, I'll use the mouse here. I believe this is Main Street right here. Yep, because there's the Home Depot. There's the old Gaudy power plant, which, if you look at the photo, it's just completely surrounded by water. Like, there's no way out to that. So yeah, Main Street completely flooded out here. This would be Route 17, which is, if I remember correctly, parts of that were flooded between Johnson City and Endwell. So, traveling through this area was really difficult at that point. And I know the Home Depot basically had to be gutted out inside. This whole plant has since been demolished, and it's just an empty field now. And they moved their operations over to Endicott. But yeah, just an incredible photo there. And again, I don't know where this photo came from, but it's just spectacular. In a bad way. This is the CVS in West Corners in Endicott. This CVS ended up having to get gutted out inside. It was just completely wrecked, and I don't even think this photo is from the peak of the flood at all. Here's another angle with water cascading over the sidewalk from the creek that runs alongside the Weiss, which would be just to the left out of frame here. In fact, here's the creek right now. Just crazy rapids running through there. It's just wild. This is the flood wall over in Endicott, next to the Green Bridge. I don't even think this was the peak of the flooding, because I believe it did get a little bit closer to the top, but yeah, I've never again or before seen it get that high on that wall. So this is the Vestal Parkway approaching the curve where you would go into downtown Binghamton, and I do know later on this whole sidewalk was underwater and more of this area was just inundated. In fact, when I took this photo, a few minutes later, a bunch of police came through telling everybody to clear the area because it was expected that it was going to go underwater. And this area right here where this fence is now a gas station and a bank. That lot has been redeveloped. Here's another shot of the Christmas tree shops in Petco, and as I said earlier with the first shot, the water did get much higher, and you can see in this shot here it is quite a bit higher than that first photo we saw. This shot is from later in the day on the flood wall right next to the Green Bridge in Endicott. It did get substantially worse. That first photo I showed you guys, it was just starting to trickle over the wall, and here it's just kind of getting inundated. So these shots are from the evening of that day. They ended up voluntarily cutting the power to this part of town because the substations were starting to get a lot of water in them, or there was fear that the water was going to get to them. I can't quite remember from back then, but you can see here the entryway to the Green Bridge is blocked off because obviously they weren't going to let cars go over it at that point. But yeah, later that evening it did get a lot darker, and you'll see that in some later photos, I believe. This is a shot looking at the Court Street Bridge in downtown Binghamton. The Army military, National Guard, whoever, was actually blocking off access to a lot of downtown given the conditions in the area. So here's a shot from that same intersection in Endicott going to the Green Bridge from later that evening. I do remember it being like pitch black that night. And this photo illustrates that a little bit better. But yeah, all the power was cut to that whole area. And I think a lot of other areas of town were also without power as well. This is the Kmart Plaza in Endicott. I think we saw a shot of that a little while ago, but this is just a different angle for you guys on that. This shot right here, I'm not exactly sure what street this is, but it does appear to be somewhere in Binghamton. If you know where this is, write down in the comments and let me know. But it just shows like the neighborhood scale of the devastation at that time. Another shot of the Aldi's Plaza in Vestal. Aldi's at that point in time was really close to opening, like the store was almost finished. And then this flood happened, and I believe it did delay the opening of the store back then. Again, if anybody knows, write it down in the comments, but I do remember it delaying the opening somewhat. So here's a shot looking east down the Vestal Parkway. This street over here would be Vestal Avenue going to the Green Bridge, and this over here would be 26 or Main Street, or headed towards Main Street. Nope, you can see in the shot, no power. Intersection completely impassable, just wild imagery. I do remember in the days leading up to in the days after the flood, a lot of military presence in the area continued to drive around, and you got one shot here of the truck driving through the flood. Actually, this is a video. Let's play this real quick. It's crazy how much better video stabilization has gotten since then. Alright, so the next shot, this is Interstate 88 in the town of Shenango. Looking to the east, I believe it was. And what happened here was a large section of the hillside actually collapsed and completely inundated the roadway. And this took a while to clean up. I think this took at least 2 weeks to get going again. And they ended up having to divert traffic onto the other side of the highway, so it was kind of like a 2-lane road for a while. And if you drive through this area today, you can still see the scar where they had to tie back the hill to keep it from further collapsing. And in this upper part here, there's actually a rail line that goes along the hillside. This is somewhere in Endicott along River Terrace. I remember a lot of the pumping stations failed back then. So what the fire department here is they're taking the water out of the storm sewer system and throwing it back into the river. And unfortunately, you can see a lot of debris along the sidewalk that people have had to clear out of their homes. And that's another thing a lot of people don't realize. A lot of homes that weren't directly affected by the flood, like didn't get inundated with flood water, got inundated from underneath from either groundwater or sewer water backup. And that's really unfortunate. So this next shot here is looking down onto Franklin Avenue from Roble, I believe, in Endicott. And I think this shot's from a couple days after the storm. The storm sewer drain here actually collapsed underneath and had to be dug out and rebuilt. This is a couple days later in the Kmart Plaza. Again, you could see crews here just kind of gutting out the building and cleaning out what's left. This is the elementary school in Binghamton, running along the parkway here. You can just see, completely flooded out. This ended up actually getting demolished and completely rebuilt. It's MacArthur Elementary, I believe is the name. And it looks beautiful now. Like, it's all up on stilts so that if it floods again, it's hopefully not going to get in the building this time. This is the corner of McKinley and Newell, and this would be Pine Street, I believe, running into the intersection here. Just lots of water. Crazy shot to see. I don't think it's ever flooded like this again, not in recent memory anyway. This is the Patterson Creek Dam in Endwell, and you can see the water here. I don't know if it made it over the side of the flood wall. I would assume it did because it looks really close right there. But yeah, this is a very tall flood wall, so there's probably a good 15-20 feet of water under there. Just incredible to see. Realty USA office in Endwell. It's now Howard Hanna. This building was built up on stilts after the 2006 flood, and you can see here in this photo, it looks like it worked out for them because I don't think the water got in the building. All right, and this is obviously an unrelated shot from another video, but that's Ithaca. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Thumbs up, subs up. We'll see you in the next video.